It's time for the Movin The Chains podcast. Your home for high school football coverage in the Palmetto State. Every team, every game, every week. And now your host, Kevin Thomas and Jerel Hendricks.
Welcome into Movin The Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel Hendricks. We've got a great interview today, a very special guest, the head coach of the South Aiken Thoroughbreds, Chris Hamilton. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains and our website, movinchains.com. That's MOVINCHAINS.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Coach Hamilton will be headed into his 9th season with the Thoroughbreds. They went 4-7 last year. Coach, let's talk about your coaching career. You know, how did you get started? Where have you been? And how did you to the head job now at South Aiken?
Well, I started off actually, I guess in Sumter was my first year of coaching. I coached middle school for David Wright, who was my middle school coach. And in transition between North Greenville and heading to Coastal, I spent a semester in Sumter, and I was cutting grass and then coaching football in the afternoon, middle school football, and then got hooked up with Coach Early. He had just gotten a job at Myrtle Beach, and kind of went in and talked to him and told him I would be going to Coastal, and he hired me and spent 9 years with him at Myrtle Beach. Won a state championship in 2008 with him. And then from there, I went to Lexington for a year, and then we kind of met back, crossed paths again back in at Lexington when he came to Lexington. So he always says I was a part of that move. I don't know if it's blaming me or not, but he says I was always a part of that move. But spent 6 years there at Lexington, 2 under Josh Stepp too. Which was 2 really good years for me too, as well. And then in 2015, I came here to South Aiken as my first head job. And, I was always a strength coach and offensive line coach, and worked with the offense and did some with defense under Coach Sitterly for that 1 year in Lexington. I was a defensive line coach for him for that 1 year while he was there at Lexington at the same time I was. So that's kind of my background. I've always been big in strength and offensive line. Matter of fact, I still coach offensive line here at South Aiken.
Coach Hamilton, let's talk about your staff a little bit. Did you make any changes this offseason? And if you don't mind, going into detail a little bit about who's on staff, some up-and-comers, just show those guys a little bit of love.
Yeah. I have my defense coordinator is Lee Houston. He took over the defense last year that was his first year as a coordinator. I hired him on a few rounds. I think it was the COVID year. He was our defensive back coach, and then when Coach Hayes went to Strom Thurmond, Matt Hayes, I hired him as my defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job, and he's kind of taken over some of the strength stuff for me. He does a really good job with that. And then I have Bowen Smith, who is my offensive coordinator. Bowen actually played for me my first year here at South Aiken. That was his senior year. He was my quarterback. And he went to Pikeville, graduated from there, and was actually working in the tax office. I said, hey, man, why don't you come and coach a little bit for us in the afternoons? You got off a decent time. And so he came and just kind of hung out with us that year and coached a little bit. And you just kind of sometimes you see it in guys, and I told him he had the goods, and then I was able to get him back last year, and he became an offensive coordinator last year. Did a really good job, and for a quarterback, he likes to run the ball a lot. So me and him are on the same page with that. So anyway, so that's my two coordinators, and then I've coached Thomas DeGennaro, who has been with me since I've been here. He works with me with the offensive line. We just added James Gore. He was at North Augusta before. He actually graduated from South Aiken. He's our defensive line coach. Larry Singer, who was joined us last year. He was a head coach in California at one time, so it's always good to have them kind of guys on your staff. Just a hard worker, does a good job with our linebackers. And then Shamari Moody, we just hired him as our running back coach. We didn't have a whole lot of turnover my first 8 years here. It was pretty much the same staff for a long time. But then, I guess sooner or later you're going to have that. And so this past 2 years, we've had a little bit more turnover than what we've been used to. But I think I really like this staff I've got here right now. I think they do a really good job. I got Hendricks Snyder coaching my receivers. He's been with me here the whole time and kind of worked with JVs for a while and has moved up through the program. This was his first coaching job, and he's done a really good job. And he's one of those guys that you got to have. You can't run a program without him. He does a really good job of a lot of the stuff behind the scenes too. And he also keeps me straight a lot, so that's a good deal.
So, Coach, for folks who maybe hadn't seen you guys play the last couple of years, what kind of schemes and styles do you guys like to run on offense and defense?
Well, the scheme really hasn't changed as far as we're a spread offense. Now, how we do it's probably a little bit different, especially past 2 years going into this year, just because of our quarterback. We got Terrence Smith, who he's started as a sophomore, but really was our best receiver going into his sophomore year. And then we had lost our first string quarterback, and the second string guy was is when they were still, sitting people out for COVID. And so he had a couple times he had guys, people in his classroom that were tested positive for COVID, and just because he was in the classroom with him, he had to end up getting quarantined for 2 weeks. So kind of by elimination, Terrence became our starting quarterback. And then after the second game of that happening, it was just obvious he was one of the best athletes on the field, if not the best athlete on the field. And, why wouldn't you give him the ball every chance you can? So
yeah.
We always like to put the ball in his hand and let things happen. So, and he's progressed from that point of just kind of being a wide receiver who was playing the quarterback to being a quarterback. And as that's progressed, our offense has progressed into what it is now. We're really heavy on running the ball. So Terrence had over 2,000 yards rushing last year. Our running back had over 1,700 yards rushing. We had a really good offensive line last year, but I think it's part of the scheme too. So we'll see this year how it goes, but it's kind of been a progression of work. A lot of everything really is triple option nowadays. Everybody says triple option's out, but everybody's running triple option. It's just the way you get the third option in. So so that's kind of us. And then on defense, we're an odd front defense. We'll be 3-4, some 3-3, and just kind of working that. Like to attack on defense and be aggressive. We had started a lot of young sophomores last year. At any point in the season, we had 7 to 8 sophomores on the field, which, it can be a rough year, but they got a lot of playing time and got a lot better. And we're looking for really good things out of them this year.
Coach, you mentioned you have one of the most dynamic backfields, Terrence Smith at the quarterback spot, Javon Edwards playing running back, both of those all-state selections. Who are some other guys that we should be on the lookout for this year? I know you got to plug in some offensive linemen that you lost from last year, and then, who are those young guys on defense that you expect to shine?
Yeah, so On offense, we've got two offensive linemen who started last year or started by the end of the year, was a full-time starter, and John Fogle, our center. So that's always good. I played center myself in high school and college, so I always have a special place in my heart for them guys. So you got to be able to get the ball. That's the most important thing. So him coming back is big for us, I think. And then Sebastian Gallo, he's our starting left tackle, and he saw, I think, about half of the season last year. He was our starter after Will got hurt. So he saw significant minutes and significant playing time last year, which was good. Tyson Pitts is playing offensive too, and he's done a really good job with that. He's the prototypical what we like to have at our guards. He's 6'3", 300, and can move really well. Also, will be playing some defense. And that's unusual for us. We usually don't try to play guys, especially on offense and defensive line, both ways. But he'll definitely be one of those guys that we'll have to do that some with. And then Michael Cohen is another offensive guard. He's not prototypical. He's a wrestler, and he's 5'10", about 200 pounds, but really gets after you. Very, very athletic, and got he's hard nosed. So we're excited about him. Andrew Kirkland's one of our only starting receivers back from last year. He's a good, steady, runs great routes, makes all the catches, makes the tough catches. Always kind of one of Terrence's, go-to guys, I guess. And then Malik Scurry has made some big leaps and gains this offseason. He's kind of one of those guys that can go up and get the ball at a high point. So we're excited about him in the season he could have. And on defense, we got Garrett Still. He's playing middle linebacker. He's a kid that's been in the program. He was my ball boy, I think, my first couple of years here. As a matter of fact, I got a picture of him and a couple of other guys. Caden Eichelberger, who's playing right tackle for us, whose brother played for us. That's the thing. Once you get somewhere and you've been there for, going on 9 years, all of a sudden you get little brothers playing and kids that been around the program, came to camp. We got those guys starting to show up and actually produce for us here, which is really big. So we got Garrett Steele, and we got Keem Walcott. He's a sophomore that's playing defensive end. Is an explosive athlete. He's also playing some running back, but he's more of a pounder. But he, especially when we get in 20 package, he can really be that extra back in there. But he's an explosive defensive lineman. We're excited about him. And then, of course, I said Pitts and secondary wise, Justin Bradley's a returner. Chris Lee, he's a returner in the secondary. Ethan Bentley, he's a returner that saw significant minutes last year. So we're excited about the defense. Their coach is being really aggressive, and I like that. I think some of our best years, our defense was super aggressive as far as trying to get the ball out, trying to make stuff happen in the game, and I think that's big for us. And with us, we need to be able to control the ball a little more. I think last year, we like to say that we controlled the ball, but and we did, but a lot of times T would break those things off in 70, a 70-yard run, and I'd have to get on the headset and tell Lee, hey man, I'm sorry, I know y'all just came off of a drive, but I don't know what else to do other than tell him to take a knee. But so he, it's exciting to have guys like that on the field. I've always been very fortunate here. I've always said it's Jimmy's and Joe's, not so much X's and O's. I understand that. I've always been very fortunate. I've always had really good players here, but I always knew there were really good players at South Aiken. Coaching against them when I was at Lexington, I always watched the film and said, man, they got some dudes over there. And so we've always been fortunate with that. And I like this group a lot. They're exciting to go out to practice with every day. They're always excited about practice. which is fun. It's kind of contagious. Sometimes you might be dragging, and I think they kind of lift you up on that when you see how excited they are. It doesn't matter if there's 110 degrees outside, they're ready to go. Matter of fact, yesterday with the storms and stuff, and our scrimmage got canceled, and we were trying to go, and it was hot, and it's too hot, and had to bring them in, and we're stretching in there and just waiting. Finally, we just called it because the storm was coming in. I said, boys, we're just going to call it today. There was genuine disappointment on them. So when you got a group like that, that makes it worthwhile. It's exciting. I don't know that we're very good, but we got the potential to be pretty good. And when you're with a group of guys that get it like that, then that's exciting to be around.
So, Coach, you guys play a really tough non-region schedule with guys like Lexington and White Knoll and Clinton and others.
Whoever
how does that help?
Schedule up is an idiot.
How does that, help prepare you guys for the region run there in a tough region that you play in, really?
Yeah, well, my thought was that would get us ready for the big, for playoff runs. I knew we were going to have a fairly decent team last year, offensively especially. Knew we were going to be young on defense. My thought was that would really get us ready for region play and get us ready for the playoffs. And then you go to some big venues like Lexington, like River Bluff, White Knoll. You go to places like that, and that kind of Clinton. I mean, those are playoff field towns when you go to them, and even Gilbert. So when you go to those kind of you're hoping that gets you ready for the playoffs and for region play. Now, I don't think I realized they all had really, really good years last year.
Yeah.
But we were in all those games. I mean, we were competing in all those games, and I think the main thing is you want to make sure you're ready for region. And back in my day, it was got to win them all. But I think as I get older, I think see the big picture on this, and want to go ahead and get ready for region. Make sure we can make that run for region, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. You go win the region, then that gives you a better playoff position. So, plus I like to compete against people that are, good players, good coaches. So, and I think we've got that on our schedule really in full. So.
Coach, the preparation for the season never stops throughout the off season. You got spring ball, 7-on-7 scrimmages, and then you're into the first week of camp. You mentioned that this group of guys, they really get it. What else have you learned about this team throughout the process before we go into the final push before the season actually starts?
Yeah, I think they're just really close knit. We always say that we end the season like we put a bow on it, like right before we go to Christmas, and we say, okay, this is our max out time. We're going to kind of see where we're at. This is kind of the end of the season of whatever the previous season was, right before Christmas break. And then you come back in January, and that's kind of where we say this is the new season right here. I think you got to have an opening and a close to it. So I think that's a good way to do it. And then so this group's been working in their football class and just really, I think just the growth they've had some big growth in the weight room. That's been really big. But just that too, and mentally, how they've grown and how they study the game and how they're just different as far as the way they like to be around football. They like to learn football. Not that other groups haven't, but this group really does. It really shows. And they're excited to be out there, and they're really a close knit group too. So they hang out together. Sometimes, I'm go out 45 minutes after practice and I'm running them out of the parking lot because they're just sitting there hanging out. So I think if you got a group like that, they genuinely care about each other. They bought into what we're selling as far as what football offers, not just the game part. The life lessons you learn in football, our why. I think they've really bought into that. This group's heard that for a while. And like I said, we've got guys that have been around our program for 8 years now, whether it being ball boys or going to camps or this or that. So watching their brothers play, they understand what we're doing here, I think, a little bit better, and that pays off. And I think our staff does a good job too with that, of preaching our why, preaching our what we do. So,
Coach, who have you guys scrimmaged so far, and who do you have lined up for that and for Jamborees here as we prepare for week 0?
Yeah, so we had Saluda. We scrimmaged them. We were able to get in a pretty decent scrimmage last Thursday against them. We went. We were able to get a bunch of plays in, more than I thought we were going to get before the rain came in, which was really good because a lot of people didn't get to go Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were supposed to scrimmage Barnwood yesterday, and we missed out on that with the rain and everything. So, it is what it is on that. We're going to end up playing Bamberg in the Jamboree, in the Aiken County Jamboree. So we're excited about that, but we're starting to get ready for Silver Bluff now. So told the guys yesterday after the scrimmage was canceled that, now we start getting ready for Silver Bluff. So
take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Guys, you're going to shift a little bit to a little bit easier question. We always ask the coaches this. Kevin and I are coming down to Aiken for a game. Where are some restaurants that we need to hit in the area before we take on a Thoroughbreds contest?
Yeah, so you want to probably go hit up. Well, I'll be honest with you. The best place is, and you got to get here a little bit early, but there's a food truck, and I don't even know the name. It's across from Chick-fil-A. I can't pronounce it. I'll murder it if I say it. It is real. It's a Mexican food truck. It is unbelievable. Okay. Get the quesadillas.
Ooh.
They are. I mean, it's something special. We got for a while in the spring there. We were going every Friday during our lunch break. We'd have somebody make a run and go get them. There's something good, and then that's really good. But if you're here for dinner, you head over to the alley down that way. There's lots of good restaurants. Aiken's a pretty neat town as far as that is. You got some really nice restaurants down there. You got Whiskey Alley. You got Mellow Mushroom down there. You've got Fuse. They just got a bunch of cool restaurants down there downtown by the alley that are really good. That's the thing. I didn't really think we'd be in Aiken this long, but my wife has fallen in love with the town. Yeah. I fell in love with the town. I fell in love with the kids and the school, and this has come home for us. So it's a special place.
So, Coach, we mentioned this is your 9th year at South Aiken. So you're really kind of the elder statesman there in the region. Just got 3 new head coaches this year at Airport and Aiken and North Augusta. Does that make it a little more difficult obviously you're not thinking of those guys yet, but as far as game planning, because you're just not so as familiar with them as you used to be with, maybe some of the other guys used to be there?
Well, unfortunately, in our region, it's kind of been a revolving door a little bit. So I've kind of gotten used to in this 9 years of seeing different guys come in and out. And, everybody's different from year to year anyway. So for me, that's not, of course, if you know a coach pretty well, you know what they're going to run defensively and stuff like that. So some of these guys, I guess, I don't have quite the knowledge of what exactly they're going to do. But the guy who's the defensive coordinator over at North Augusta used to be my defensive coordinator here. So I know pretty much what I'm going to do. On the flip end of that, he knows what we're going to do too. So on offense. So he, so that's a little bit different. But I don't know. It's one of those things where you just you just prepare for week to week anyway. So at the end of the day, you got to put in the film and go figure it out. So,
Coach, with your experience, you've coached in 3 distinct regions of the state. What are some of the coolest, toughest environments that you've been able to experience, as a head coach or as a coach in general?
Dillon, no doubt. When we're at Myrtle Beach and used to go see them Wildcats, man, that was something else.
Between the white walls over there.
Oh man, the fans over there. As long as they beat you, they loved you at the end. If you played a good game against them, as long as they beat you. But if you didn't, you better get going. And then, Lake City, I always thought that was pretty cool with the wall back there. I used to love going there, especially when Coach Moss was there. You know, he kind of got me up in coaching too a little bit, helped me get started. His son played quarterback with me at North Greenville, and so I knew him really well. So he kind of helped me get with Scott, and so it's always cool to go there. You know, played in Summerville twice at Lexington in playoff games. That's a special place. I played there when I was a player too, when we were at Sumter. So I always thought that was pretty cool, just the history behind there. Clinton this past year, man, you talk about a tough environment and just a place that you know, you feel the history there, and you kind of I thought that was pretty neat. Clinton's a nice place. So,
well, last one here for you, Coach. What are some goals for the 2023 season for the South Aiken Thoroughbreds?
Well, I think our goals are always the same, and I mean, you know, you can ask our guys. It's been the same since I've been here. We want to win the opener. You know, always want to win the opener. And it used to be, you know, something when opener used to be Aiken when we weren't in the same region, so that was always a big thing. But you know, being Silver Bluff now, that's a big crosstown rival, and it's become a pretty good rivalry. And me and D'Angelo are really good friends. So, you know, that's one. We want to win the region. You know, want to win the county. Anybody we play in the county, we want to be able to beat them and win the region, and then win state. So, I mean, that's always kind of been our goals. You know, on a smaller scale, we want to play really good defense, sound defense this year. I think that's big. We got to be able to run the ball. I mean, that's kind of what our best teams have always been really good at running the ball. 2016, we played for the Upper State Championship. We were really good at running the ball. You know, so that's kind of the deal. That's always the deal. Play aggressive, fast defense, and be able to run the ball. If you can do that pretty well, you'll usually pretty successful in this game.
Well, this has been great. I want everyone to go check out the Thoroughbreds program on Facebook and Twitter. They do a great job sharing highlights and updates of their kids. You know, definitely want to follow them there and check them out. Like I mentioned, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc. at Movin Chains, movinchains.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Moving the Change, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Joining us for Coach, we'll let him go today.
I just want to sincerely thank you, Coach, for your time today. We know it's crunch time, got a lot going on this point of the season, you know, as you prepare, you know, to kick things off in a couple weeks. So we really appreciate that. One of my favorite programs to follow is South Aiken. Kevin will tell you that. You guys are just exciting. I love the brand of football that you guys play, and we'll definitely be watching. Wish you continued success. Stay healthy, and hope you guys have a great season.
Thank you. Let me give a shout out to our social media director, my daughter, Zoe Hamilton. She's at Coastal Carolina. She actually does stuff for them, but we also Anna Gray. She's at the school too. They do a heck of a job. And trust me, none of that. People ask me, "Is that you?" And I said, "No, that's not me. That's not me at all. I don't even hardly know how to turn my phone on." So that's all them. But they do a great job of it, and it highlights our kids and highlights our program.
Sure.
And so. But anyways, y'all mentioned it, so I thought I'd throw them a shout out.
They do a great job. They really do. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Look forward to getting down to a game and getting to check you guys out this year. And best of luck this season, all right?
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate
it, Coach.
Appreciate y'all.